He dropped out of college and then he went and flipped 25 houses.
High school was a big turning point for me where I started to absorb that knowledge.
Reading Rich Dad Poor Dad is definitely not unique to you, but I think doing it at 15 is unique.
It's hard for me to say. I don't know if I would have stayed 4 years because I never liked school and I never really wanted to be there. Stay up late most nights in high school watching YouTube videos on creating different streams of income, some through real estate, some through side hustles, e-commerce, day trading, that whole circle of ideas that you can find online and get trapped in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Saucetown Investor podcast. I am your host, Matt Cox. We have another awesome guest for you guys today. He's only 24 years old, but he's a wealth of knowledge, has done a ton of stuff in the real estate space. We're going to ask him about, he dropped out of college and then he went and flipped 25 houses in the last 2 years. These days, he's now also running Lakeside Investment Group, where he manages a commercial portfolio. Lakeside looks for assets with long-term value in real estate, stocks, as well as small businesses. So I am joined today by Carter Wisensee. Carter, how are you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited.
Absolutely, and I nailed your last name, right? I got it correct?
You did. Yeah, you didn't overcomplicate
it. Very good, man. Well, awesome to have you on. Where are you joining us from?
I'm out of Dallas right now in our office, just 15 minutes outside of Salem, and this is where I do most of my work day to day.
Very good. Well, I know it's a big week for you. I got some a few deals closing, but before we get into those deals, just to start us off, tell us a little bit. But not necessarily real estate wise, but just your upbringing and your background, where you grew up, and then maybe kind of transition that into how you got into real estate.
Sure. Yeah. So I've grown up in the same town my entire life, just outside of Salem. I grew up with amazing parents, an amazing house, very involved in sports growing up. We were a big entrepreneurial family too. My dad started our family business in 2004, so I've seen that basically grow from the ground up and have been pretty heavily involved in all things from the time I can remember, really. And so that was a blessing to be involved in. I took off for college, did about 2 years, ended up dropping out, did some door-to-door sales, bought into a car wash for a little bit, moved down to Arizona, flipped some houses. And that basically got me to where I am today.
Very cool. I know I had Jeff on a few weeks ago, and he said he mentioned you were a heck of an athlete growing up. What sports did you play?
Yeah, basketball and baseball mostly. Those were kind of my two that I ended up focusing on.
Okay. Who's your favorite baseball team?
I don't watch a lot of baseball. I enjoyed playing it a lot more than I liked watching it, which is a kind of funny thing. I'm learning that's not super uncommon. It's a slow sport to watch. Basketball, though, I'm a big Blazer fan. Love the Celtics, too. Big fan of the T-Wolves recently as well.
All right. Well, I'm a Knicks guy, so we're enemies as far as the Celtics are concerned right now.
Yeah.
You saw the big Blazers news today, though, right?
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. So they made the official announcement that the team is up for sale. Paul Allen's estate is officially putting it up today.
Well, if you want to pull some money together, maybe we can make a move.
Yeah, you guys are raising a lot of capital at Lakeside. I know that. So maybe we can partner with Phil Knight or something and buy the Blazers. I'm in.
We'll see. That's a heck of a job to turn around, but somebody will do it.
Absolutely. So tell us, you mentioned, you grew up in an entrepreneurial household. I know a little bit about your dad just from what Jeff has told me, but when did you start kind of learning how business works, or what memories do you have of your dad kind of showing you the ropes with that stuff?
Yeah, I have a ton of memories from when I was younger. I used to run up to some of his construction projects when he was managing Saturdays when I was little, probably late elementary school. Didn't really learn a lot at that point, but I was around a lot of the the quieter things you can take in as a kid, just seeing the hard work, seeing the scale of stuff, those kind of things without the specific details. I probably started learning about it like late middle school is when he probably started sharing more of the nitty gritty details with me, I would say. By the time I was in high school, I think that's when I probably started to become interested in it. And it wasn't just receiving it, I was actually looking for it. And then, all throughout late high school, I ended up just getting more involved with it. He's very transparent with us, always has been, always willing to share details on how things are going, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so high school was a big turning point for me where I started to absorb that knowledge and actually see the value in what was being created.
Yeah. So was there, I know you said you were around job sites and stuff when you were a little kid and all the way at high school, you started kind of learning the actual details of the business. I mean, was there a moment where you were, as a kid, you kind of understood the concept of like, we're going to, we're going to buy a house or we're going to build a house or renovate a house or whatever. And then we're going to sell it for more than we spent on it. And that's how dad makes money. Or did that start to click at a certain point?
Well, the business that I was around was larger scale civil construction when I was little. That was what he was doing while he was getting our main business started. That transitioned into our main business today, which actually isn't real estate, it's logistics, which is a whole other side of it. But the logistics business is where I got to see all those talents, skills, and focus really culminate. My biggest turning point with my thinking, I think, where I started to say to myself, hey, this is something I can do. I don't necessarily need school. I don't need to go down the traditional route. Those thoughts started when I actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 15. So not a unique story at all. I think a lot of people are like that. But that's what really sparked it for me. And I kept reading books after that and asking more questions. But I kind of found it on my own, actually.
Yeah, the reading Rich Dad Poor Dad is definitely not unique to you, but I think doing it at 15 is unique. I wish I had done it at 15. I think I read it in like my mid to late 20s, so that's pretty cool. You were able to do that so early. So you talked about like not being entirely sure if you wanted to go to school, if you just want to go into business, but you do end up going to school. So tell us about that. Where were you attending college, and then what were you studying in during that time?
Yeah, I went to Oregon State, and I think it was probably the best thing that happened to me. But COVID was my freshman year, and so I was studying business management. Um, Obviously, not taking any core business classes in the first year, but COVID really pushed me out of school. Is what ended up happening. I started working small jobs on the side. School changed really quickly for me. That wasn't the same experience. There was no enjoyment out of classes. Nothing was in person. I just didn't understand where the money was going that was being spent on school. And at the same time, with no online or no classes in person, I was able to work as much as I wanted to. And the value was not adding up to me. It made no sense for me to stay in school at that point, especially when it just wasn't normal for anybody. And so I think COVID ended up being the biggest blessing for me early on, believe it or not.
Yeah, do you think you would, if COVID hadn't never happened, you would have stayed 4 years at Oregon State?
It's hard for me to say. I don't know if I would have stayed 4 years because I never liked school and I never really wanted to be there. It was more just a filler. I just didn't know what else to do. Um, and it's not always the best decision to just go spend money on school, but if you don't know what you're doing and you're still focused on trying to find that thing, school's not a bad stepping stone to meet people, experience new things. And so I don't know if I would have finished 4 years. Um, it's hard for me to say. I probably wouldn't have though, but I might have made it another 2 or 3 years or so. Who knows?
Yeah, I think COVID was kind of a like sliding doors moment for a lot of people. I mean, my story is similar. I was working corporate sales. I was kind of dabbling in a little bit of real estate, but similar to you, I was like, I have so much free time now. I might as well go learn something or go do something with this. And I, just started listening to Bigger Pockets and doing all that stuff. So it was an interesting time where you could kind of either learn a new skill or business or whatever, or you could, spend 2 years watching Netflix. You kind of had either option, but everybody had nothing but time while that was happening.
Yeah, once you get down that rabbit hole too of kind of self-educating, once you're hooked on it, at least it's really hard to get out of. You start seeing all these different avenues, these different stories, start learning that school is really not the best option for everybody. And once you're in that mindset, it's hard to get out. That's what I ended up finding. And once I was out of school mentally, it was pretty much impossible for me to jump back in.
Yeah, were you doing any other I know you obviously learned under your dad. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad when you were 15, but were you doing any other education type stuff through podcasts or books or anything, or were you just hopping right
Yeah.
into it?
Yeah, I was a big reader. YouTube and reading were probably the biggest things. Podcasts came in the last year or so, but big on YouTube. I would just stay up late most nights in high school watching YouTube videos on um, creating different streams of income, some through real estate, some through side hustles, e-commerce, day trading, uh, that whole circle of ideas that you can find online and get trapped in if you're not careful. But I was there for a long time and tons of reading. I used to read before basketball practice and before games when I got out of class early in high school. And so that's been a big thing in my life for, I don't know, a good 6, 7 years now.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to make money in 2025, which is both a blessing and a curse because you can get, I mean, it's good. There's a lot of ways to make money, but it can also just be such shiny object syndrome too, where instead of getting really good at one thing, for example, flipping houses, people tend to hop around to all different kinds of ideas because there are so many opportunities. Did you dabble in any of that type of stuff?
Well, um, not seriously. I probably spent a little bit of time early college. I did explore the day trading route. I did have dreams of starting a blog similar to what you're doing now. Finding a way to monetize that wasn't really the right fit for me. So I tried a couple things for a short period of time, um, but I tried to rule them out quick. I've always tried to move based on what works for my personality too, without forcing things. And so I don't like doing things that I don't like, I guess. And so which makes sense. I think most people don't always follow that though. And I just always try to avoid things I don't like. 'Cause if I don't like them, it's really hard for me to put a lot of energy and the right amount of focus that it really takes to build something. And so I try to move on quick. Um, but
Yeah, what was your blog about when you started it?
I was going to try to do one on personal finance.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'm starting to relate to, I think people my age and take some of the experience that I learned through my very little reading. Obviously, I was an 18-year-old, probably trying to speak to more 18-year-olds, which you don't have a lot of experience to pull from at 18. So I didn't totally understand what the content was going to be or where my competitive advantage was. But
Mhm.
that was my idea. It never hit the ground though.
Got it. Okay, so then you drop out of Oregon State and you said you go into door-to-door sales a little bit. Tell me about where were you working? What were you selling?
Yeah, I was selling pest control in Michigan.
That's not what I expected to hear. How did that happen?
That was a short stint. I had a roommate who got pulled into that kind of, it's not a pyramid scheme, but it kind of acts like one. You recruit people, you go sell pest control, you make a lot of money, and you get overrides off people. So I had a roommate that tried to recruit me. He had some past experience, and so I said, why not? It was right when I was dropping out. Figured it was a good segue to kind of push myself to do something outside of my comfort zone, and so I moved to Michigan and gave door-to-door sales a shot.
Do you like it?
Hated it. I absolutely hated it. Yeah, it lasted about 2.5 months, I think. I learned a ton of valuable stuff and met some really cool people. That was probably the biggest um, learning curve for me to go through to really figure out, okay, I like sales. I like talking to people. This kind of cold calling, really harsh style of it though is not for me. It took me a while to figure that out. But once I did, that's been a big thing I think that's guided me since then. Just towards that same idea of not doing things you don't like. Because there's when there's no energy and passion behind something, I did really good at first when I was excited about it, and I was able to kind of push through the heavier no's, the harsh people at doors, and then I started to just really decline fast. I didn't like it. It wore on me, being out of state, hearing no's constantly. And that was a really big thing for me to learn about myself. So it didn't
Yeah.
last long.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in I think you should do some stuff that you don't like because it teaches, like you said, it teaches you like, okay, I can't do this forever. I need to find something that I enjoy more. And I also think door-to-door type sales is a great crash course. It's not fun. You get chewed up and spit out, but I had a similar one. I sold, it wasn't houses, but I would go to businesses and sell them credit card processing, which is just another one where you show up there and they're just kind of
Yeah,
like, oh God, like how
very little
quick,
emotion.
yeah, like how quick can I get this guy out of here,
Yep.
basically. And so yeah, I kind of had a similar story actually where you hit the ground running, I close some deals, having a lot of fun, and then you're just like, dude, I'm hitting a wall with this thing.
hmm Yep, I can imagine that's brutal. B2B is, some people like it more, some people think it's a lot worse because nobody has sympathy for you at
Right.
all. You at least get that a little bit in residential stuff. But yeah, you're right. It is a great thing for you to kind of push yourself to do, and you learn what works for you and what doesn't. And if you can do door-to-door sales or B2B like that, you've always got it to fall back on, which is a good thing to have as you move into other areas of business.
Absolutely. I mean, life is sales, so you can take that take that anywhere with you. So, okay, so you go to Michigan for a few months. Don't really like the door to door sales thing, but you learn some skills there.
Mhm.
Did that? Okay, was your next thing you got right into flipping houses, or what comes next?
So I moved back and I bought into a car wash here that we were running as a family with another partner. I had the opportunity to buy in it and be the managing partner. So I got a percentage of equity for being the one that handled most of the headaches and the operations. So I did that. I moved in. It was really just a good timing thing, I think. It was not what I had in mind, but it was the opportunity in front of me. And so I was excited about it. It was something that made sense. I didn't have to go back to another job that I hated, something that I was used to, something I knew that would wear me down. So I jumped into that and we ran that for about another year and a half. And that went really well. We ended up selling it, but it was about halfway through that car wash experience that I got into house flipping.
Which for our listeners, where's the car wash? Is it in Dallas or
It is in
Salem?
Dallas. Yeah, we
Okay,
sold it in January of 2023 to another local guy here that's running it.
nice. And you bought what year did you buy it?
2018. Yeah, so I
Okay,
came
so
a little bit late. I was there for about 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. Um, but yeah, we bought it, owned it for about 5 years.
yeah, you guys do pretty well on that. I remember the multiples on car washes have come way down, so you probably bought it at a pretty good basis. Yeah,
Yeah, we got a great price. We got great terms too. We seller financed a portion of it. We also sold it at a great price too. We did a lot of work to it to increase the income. So we did very well on that.
nice. I was down in North Carolina like 2 weeks ago at a business conference with a group I'm in, and we were doing tours of some of the members' businesses, and one of them was a car wash, which I knew nothing about, but he was telling me, that, we got to learn kind of the basic numbers of it and how you can value add. And so did you guys come in and I won't promise I won't turn this into a whole car washing podcast, but did you come in and were you able to raise the prices, or how did you add value to it before you sold it 5 years later?
Yeah, a couple different ways. It was a self-serve, but it had self-serve automatic car washes, which were where most of the money came. That was the only reason it made sense. Traditional self-serve car washes, I don't think, have near the income to make it worth the headache. But it had one machine, so we added a machine. We doubled the number of cars we could wash per day, and then we pretty significantly ended up raising prices as well. And we justified that by doing a lot of maintenance, painting, cleaning things up, adding new equipment all the way around, and making it a much better experience for people. So it was all those things kind of combined that allowed us to do that.
Got it. So you learn to operate a business. You're kind of running this car wash. You're getting equity for being the operations guy, and then you get your first exit in 2023, and you get into flipping houses, which, as we said in the intro, you've done 25 of these in the last 2 years. So let's just start. Tell us about your first house flip. Where did you find it? How did you fund it? Take us into the details.
Yeah, I bought that one just outside of Salem, and I wasn't planning on flipping it. It was kind of an interesting deal. I really wanted to move into something. I had a dream of fixing it up, and I think burning it was probably my idea, although I didn't quite know how to do that or run the numbers on it. Um, so I actually got it under contract with the intention to live in it. And then I kept walking it, brought some family in, brought some friends in, and realized that I was incredibly blind to the quality of living that I was about to drop myself to. It was a disgusting house. It needed extensive work. It was ended up almost falling apart. I mean, when we started the repairs on it, so I got talked out of living in it, thankfully. And I kind of put down the money together really quick from family and decided to just give flipping a shot. My parents kind of supported me with it. They took a look at it, looked at the numbers, said, hey, I think this could work. And if not, it would be a great experience. So I gathered the money for it and I closed on it and I started renovations on that. And it didn't go as planned at all. But I think at the end of the day, I almost exactly broke even on it. And that was pretty cool to me. It was a headache, a nightmare. I haven't had a project that bad since, as far as just mental energy that it took. But it was a proof of concept. Most people need money, I think, to have that proof of concept. I broke even. Somehow I still got it. I think that was because I could just see all the mistakes that were made and feel pretty confident moving forward that I could do another project without making so many of those.
Yeah, that's your college semester right there. Like you paid $0 to learn how to flip houses, or you could have paid 30 grand for some guy's online course, but you did the thing. You actually didn't even lose a dime. So I mean, to me, in the moment, maybe it felt that way, maybe it didn't. But looking back, that has to feel like a win, right?
It definitely did. I mean, the funny thing about it is I didn't lose any money on it, but I also didn't calculate any of my time.
Yeah, you paid
And
yourself $0 too.
when I say that was a headache, I probably worked 40-hour weeks on that for the entire 3 months that it was going on. And so if you look at it that way, I lost a lot. But thankfully, I had other work and was able to support myself and get to the end, really.
Nice. And sorry if I missed this. Did you say where did you source that deal from?
That one was on market. That's where I
Okay.
get most of my deals actually. So that was just on market. I just I didn't know how to do due diligence, so the price was nowhere near where I needed it.
Got it. So you do this first flip, and I'll tell you, I flip houses a little bit. I will not tell anyone that I'm a great house flipper. I like the buy and hold stuff myself. It's a really unforgiving business, and it's not usually where new investors start. I know this first one you were able to learn a lot and actually, not lose any money. But then I think just from watching you, you get pretty good at it. I mean, what did you learn from the first one? And how are you able to kind of translate that into success and doing, 25 of these in the last couple of years?
Yeah, yeah. The biggest things for me it was probably two factors, two things that I had to learn really well to be successful at it. And it was just buying at the right price, figuring out how to calculate that price, and then just having good contractors. Um, I mean, the contractors are probably the biggest thing on it. That's how you avoid getting ripped off. That's how you avoid going over budget. That's how you avoid going over your time too. Um, so contractors and just learning where to buy the deals at. Also, what deals to buy, so you're not buying stuff that isn't going to sell. Those are the most important things that I had to learn, and I think I just did that through more self-educating, YouTube, reading books, but also just being very thoughtful when I did purchase stuff. Um, I always tried to give myself extra cushion in my numbers wherever possible. And I was throwing in, the absolute worst case scenario that I could even think of. And that's where I got to my break even. I had that much cushion in there. And the absolute worst case scenario, I was assuming a $30,000 septic system on a house that was on public sewer, stuff like that, that wasn't even going to happen. But I tried to be that cautious and just anticipate anything that could go majorly wrong.
Yeah, I think you touched on something interesting there as well, which is a mistake that I've made because my background is mostly in rentals. I've done a handful of flips, and it's a totally different. You talked about like someone has to buy this, and that sounds obvious. Like, no, duh, I'm flipping a house, someone needs to buy it. But it's a totally different game than preparing a house for a renter to move in. A renter, it's not a commitment. They're living there for 12 months. It doesn't feel like this big life decision. And so I've made mistakes like buying houses that have like one of the bedrooms is like this weird loft bedroom or something like that, where someone walks in and they go, I don't know if I can envision myself going up those stairs every day for the next decade. Or I'm curious, do you have, when you talk about like something that someone would want to buy, or, we use the term like livability, what stuff do you look for as far as like layout or really anything that might be a red flag that's like, man, when we go on market with this, I don't know that it's not going to be great for buyers to see this.
Yeah, probably two or three things there. Biggest point is price point. We try to stay in the entry level price point, so we don't really sell anything over 400, and we rarely sell stuff above 350. So we try to stay really low and just kind of beat the bottom of the market. There's a lot of homes that come on market in the threes. Very, very few of them are renovated. And so we produce a product that is completely renovated. It's clean, it's updated, it's in good shape. And that kind of shocks that bottom level market is what we've found. And then as far as weird houses go, just layout is probably the biggest thing. Just looking for a standard layout. I always try to imagine, the functionality of things, how easy it is to live in it. You're putting bathtubs in one bathrooms instead of showers because people have young kids, or they don't want a walk-in shower with a glass door. They don't want that to be their only thing. Or the loft issue. If we're buying something with a loft, like you're talking about, I've made the mistake of trying to give that too much value than it's actually worth. And so that's storage in my mind. It's not a bedroom. And if somebody wants to use it as a bedroom, then sure, go for it. But we're not going to price it as though that's a bedroom. So we just try to avoid a couple things like that. The biggest thing, though, is price point. Just staying at the bottom of the market and trying to be the only product out there that's fully renovated and move-in ready.
Yeah, I made the loft mistake myself. It's a big loft. Like, it was the biggest bedroom in the house if you consider it a bedroom, but we could not sell the thing, and I just had to turn it in to a rental. So that's a really good one to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And another piece that's kind of interesting that I think listeners would be a little surprised by is you're sourcing. You said you're sourcing most of these on market. Do you have agent relationships where they're bringing you stuff, or how do you? Because I think yeah, just I won't answer the question for you. To take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've tried everything. I've tried the off-market stuff a little bit. The off-market deal sourcing kind of fell back and reminded me a lot of the door-to-door stuff. I didn't love that approach to it. I also tried the relationship building piece of it, reaching out to wholesalers, agents, trying to get them to bring me off-market stuff, but the deal flow just wasn't there. The idea that a lot of wholesalers, and the majority at least, there's some good ones out there. I know I bought a couple from you that have made a lot of sense, but a lot of wholesalers and a lot of agents think their off-market stuff is worth so much more than it is. And they also have more buyers that can pay more than me. We're never the guys that can pay the most amount of money. And so it's hard to compete in that off-market area. And so we just go direct on market for our deals. And I just kind of negotiate it myself. I've learned how to do that really well. I usually self-represent. It just cuts out the middleman. Like to work directly with the listing agent. That way it's just less people to cut through. And we just go right at it. We try to be straightforward, transparent, try to act like we know what we're doing because we think we do. And we try to move as quickly as possible to give the best terms we can to the seller.
Yeah, I think there's this connotation that off market equals good. And I've definitely been someone that has thought that before as well. And there are amazing off market deals sometimes, and there are good wholesalers and all of that. But you touched on it, like just because it's off market, these good wholesalers, they still have a long buyer list. So like you said, you're not getting it at the price you want because someone else is going to pay $5 grand more than you, 10 grand more than you, 20 grand more than you. So you're not getting exclusives from these people. And on market, obviously it's not exclusive because it's on the MLS. But in some ways, I mean, are you able to, I guess, bring something to these agents or to these sellers that is unique or helps you stand out from other buyers that are looking at this on the MLS?
Yeah, probably speed, and just ability to level with a seller and really figure out what they actually need in a transaction. Usually price, aside from a couple different situations where people really don't care what price they sell it at, they just want to get rid of it. But price is usually the one thing that we really can't just give away to a seller. But outside of that, our inspection timelines, our close dates, our ability to handle all repairs, cleaning up trash, closing on their timeline too. Some people need longer rather than shorter, showing solid financing, basically just making the agent feel good about us closing. Because at the low price points, agents don't make a ton of money. And while they're always supposed to think of the best interest in their client, they also know that, $170,000 sale isn't going to net them a whole lot more than a $150,000 sale. And they just want to make sure that they can get rid of it. And sometimes we're the only buyer that's willing to take on bigger projects too. And so we find stuff that we're kind of the only guys that are willing to work on the project too and try to make a deal. That's our biggest thing is most people don't want to do the due diligence. They don't want to figure out how bad the foundation is. They don't want to figure out how much the sewer line is going to cost, or it's just too big of a project. We're the ones that are actually coming into the deal and willing to talk through that and work it out.
Hey guys, we're taking a quick break, but before we get back into it, if you're enjoying this episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us to keep bringing you more valuable content. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, don't forget to leave a review. Please, it makes a huge difference. All right, let's get back to it. Yeah, so when you're doing that, so if you say you're making an offer that's well below their asking price, are you bringing them stuff like your full repair list or different, I guess, are you bringing them numbers to justify, like, here's why we have to offer this price?
Yeah, I have in certain scenarios. Usually I try to just build enough rapport with the agent and we don't call out the little stuff at all.
Yeah.
I'll try to be pretty upfront with our best price at the beginning, leaving a little bit of room for error on bigger stuff that does need to be looked into. And we really only negotiate off of the big stuff. If there's $30,000 of extra stuff, I'm probably only going to focus on one issue and use that to get it down to where we need to be. I'm not going to blow it up into something really bigger than it is. We're just trying to be transparent about the stuff that I know they can't fix, right? Because if you start calling out all the little stuff, you're going to get into a seller's head and they're going to start thinking, wait, electrical, my cousin's an electrician, I can get him to fix that. And, it's only a small section of the sewer line. That's probably easy to do on a Saturday. And, wait a second, this guy, I think he's calling out stuff that doesn't make sense. Then the deal starts to fall apart. The seller starts to get these ideas in their head that their projects or their property's worth more than it really is. And so we're trying to call out the big stuff that I know they can't handle. And I know they don't want to deal with because that's where our value is.
Yeah, that's such a good pointer. Like I've made that mistake before and sometimes it can work if you have like an ultra practical seller, but a lot of times they're just like, okay, great. Thanks for showing me all those numbers, but I still want 220. Like, I don't care what your thing says. Or like you said, you're often adding more variables to the equation than you need to. And that stuff can, like you said, it confuses sellers. They're going to beat you up on the numbers. So I think, like you said, simplicity wins out in most cases when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think that you have to set the tone from the beginning too, that you're a genuine person and that you're really thinking of their best interest throughout the entire deal. And that's how you're able to get big price reductions. You can't come in like, you know what you're doing better than they do. And you want to tell them, here's the deal in the house. This is where it's going to go out. Take it or leave it. You have to really be sure you're willing to work with them on a deal. Otherwise, they're going to start to get in their own head and they're not going to want to work with you. That's the biggest thing for us, I think, is just coming in genuine from the start. Even if we do need to renegotiate down the road, we're showing these buyer or these sellers and these listing agents that we are being truthful about the repairs that are needed, and we're really giving them their best option.
Right. You're operating in good faith. You're not going to pick apart the little stuff. You're not going to retrade them on silly little things. If something huge comes up in the inspection that you didn't know about, like that's a whole different story. But so many people just, they string out the deal. They do a 30-day inspection period, and on day 29, after they tie the property up, they come up with 20 grand in made up repairs and people hate that. It alienates them and they don't want to work with you.
They do. That's a great point too. With inspections, if we have a 10-day inspection and we've got all the info we need on day 4, we usually go back to them on day 4. And we just keep the ball rolling to show that we're interested in it. We're not trying to play games or anything. And this is what we found. And, how are we going to make it work? So that's important. And then, the other thing too that I think is really important is understanding the seller's situation. I always ask probably more personal questions than I should to listing agents, but that's why I like to work directly with them. It's because usually they're willing to kind of spill more information than you'd get working with your own buyer's agent. And so we're able to figure out what a seller's actually going through, how long they've owned it, if they've ever lived in it, what do they know about it? Are they in a tough situation financially? Can they sit on it for 6 months? Do they need the money now? Those details are the most important when you're trying to build out your terms for the best offer.
So I want switching gears a little bit. I know you went and lived in Arizona was it about a year or was it longer than that?
About 9 months.
9 months. So tell us why'd you move to Arizona? What were you doing down there? And why'd you come back too?
Yeah. I moved down there just to get it out of my system. I don't have a good answer for that other than I didn't have much going on. It was right after we sold the car wash. So I moved down there and I tried flipping houses. And so I did a couple down there. I was still doing some deals up in Oregon. Those were still going really well for me. I knew the market up in Oregon a lot better than I did in Arizona. So I tried the Arizona flipping, learned that it is one of the most competitive markets in the country. It's really hard to get your foot in the door and find deals that 30 people aren't seeing on the same list, a minimum of 30 people. And so I learned pretty quick that Arizona was not the place for me to do flipping. It works for some people. Some people are able to figure it out, but it was kind of back to that same idea of the path of least resistance. I didn't love the flipping down there. And so I wanted to move back up to Oregon and kind of continue that and get more involved in our family business too.
Yeah, Arizona's interesting. I went, in the time you were down there, Phoenix was just ripping. The market was going crazy and now it's come down a little bit. But it's an interesting place because I went down there, what was it, 2020 or 2021, just because I was like listening to Bigger Pockets. I was like, you know what, I might want to buy a rental property in Arizona. So I flew down there and looked at all these houses. And we're from the Northwest where neighborhoods are, there's some subdivisions, but we're used to all these like unique neighborhoods with unique houses that are built in different decades and stuff like that. And you go to Arizona and like so much of it is just like subdivision, plop down 50 of the same house, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of identical homes. There's really no on-market deals down there because there's so many eyes on things every single day. A lot of the deals are pretty easy rehabs, and so you've got that many more people that are able to do them because they take less resources. It's a lot harder to find stuff where you could stand out and be competitive. There's just so many people that think they know what they're doing down there. There's probably a number of people that you get beat out on deals, and it's their only deal that they're ever going to do. They don't know how to run numbers, so they paid a lot more than you did, and you'll never see them again. But the next week, there's another guy to fill their spot, and it's just hard. It's hard to find those deals.
Yeah, they buy it, they pay more than you, they probably lose a bunch of money on it, but that doesn't help you out because like you said, somebody else will. And when a market's hot like that too, capital starts flooding in. And I know a number of Oregon investors that have gone down there and started doing business, and I don't know how they've done. How many houses did you flip while you were down there? How many Arizona houses, not Oregon?
Yeah, I think I did 5.
Did they go well? Did you make money?
Overall, no, not at all. I made a lot of money up in Oregon that kind of offset it, which was nice. But no, my biggest losses were all in Arizona, actually, and that's part of what shaped my strategy behind entry level and good bones to houses, projects that make sense, floor plans that make sense, houses that people are going to buy. Is all my losses down there were kind of going outside of that comfort zone, but also feeling pressure to push deals through and pay more than I should have.
So that was kind of the common denominators. You were just your entry price was too high.
Yeah, I think I got frustrated and let myself feel the pressure of wanting to do stuff rather than needing to. And I didn't need to, but I felt the need or felt the desire to. 'Cause I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing down there. And so I ended up just paying more than I should have for quite a few deals. And I learned a really good lesson through that, I think, of not forcing stuff when you don't have to. Because usually it doesn't go bad or go good at all.
Yeah, patience is one of the hardest things in this game because we all get antsy, we all get emotionally tied to deals, and the second you do that is when you lose. So let's take it back to some of your wins though. So you get back to Oregon. You moved back to Oregon in early 24,
Late 23, yeah.
late 23, and that's when things kind of started ripping with, or I guess you were flipping Oregon houses when you were down there as well. Take us through maybe what's the best flip you ever did? Like the one you made the most money, where was it? Tell us about the deal.
Yeah, we've had a couple really good ones that we've done over the last 2 years. But we actually just sold our most profitable one a couple weeks ago. That was a triplex renovation that we ended up doing. It was a super unique project. It ended up taking about 12 months, about 6 months longer than I thought it would. We ran into all sorts of issues with it. It was a very large scope of work. Heck, our total rehab ended up being about 260, but we got it for 200. So we got 3 units, over 2,100 square feet of living for 200,000. And I think that most people would have considered one of them unlivable, but we did a ton of work to it. We brought in a couple different contractors, worked through issues with cities, getting the right permits to do stuff, moving utilities around. And what we ended up actually doing is it was a triplex, but it was a duplex on one side of the lot and a single family house on the other. So we ended up splitting the lot, which gave us the ability to sell them individually. And so we worked through that whole partition process, working with the city and the county to meet their requirements to do everything that they asked for, which is a super long list. And we were able to split the lot successfully. And so we had 2 separate listings when we completed them. And I believe that we were able to sell it for probably about $100,000 higher than we would have been altogether. And that is where most of our profit ended up coming from. And that wasn't the original plan at all. The original plan was to either sell it as a triplex or hold on to it if the numbers didn't really make sense or the juice wasn't worth the squeeze at that point. But we decided to kind of keep our money moving and see what would happen if we threw it on market, and it ended up being great for us.
What city was it in?
I was in Dallas too,
It was in
actually.
Dallas. How is Dallas was it pretty easy to get the lot split, or was that a pain?
It was easy, but it was a long list and a lot of communication. So the work itself wasn't too difficult, but it's a lot of back and forth working with surveyors. We had to have an attorney write up a couple documents for shared easements and shared utilities, shared driveways. So we had a lot of steps, but it was relatively easy. It's just you can't really avoid 3 months of work. That's just what it ends up being.
Gotcha. So then, and so you're still, before we got on the call, you said you got sold 2 flips this week and you got 3 more going on market. Where are all those ones located?
Yeah, we have 2 closing next week, and
Two
then we have
closings.
yep, and then we've had another 3 going on market. One's up north in Estacada, um, Lebanon, and Sheridan. I think we've got another in Sweet Home actually. We're kind of all over.
Didn't the Falls City one I assigned you that went on market too, right?
We did, yeah, last Thursday.
How's that thing looking? Are you guys going to do well on it?
I hope so. We'll see. We got to find a good buyer for it. If you're looking for a rental, maybe we'll trade it back to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've gotten a couple showings so far. Fall City's a very slow area, so that's what I was expecting. It could take a month. We think we priced that in.
Nice, man. Yeah, I've shuttered my wholesale business. That may be I may have wholesaled you the final house of my wholesale career. So I hope
Oh,
that one
really?
hope that one turns out well for you guys.
You got to check that out. That'd be a fun thing to remember if that really was the last one. Yeah, hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it went well for you too.
Yeah, no, the pics look cool. I saw it. It's a weird house, kind of a like I different than really any house I had ever seen. But you guys, it looks really nice now.
It turned out great. It is a super funky house. I feel like I've touched on multiple times in the last half hour on not buying funky houses. For some reason, I decided to do that deal. Maybe you're just a good salesman. I'm not sure. I felt like it was probably the size of the project that made me feel comfortable. It was quick,
Yeah.
relatively easy. Um, but you're right. It's a funky house. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we find the right buyer for it.
Cool. So aside from the flip stuff, I had Jeff Lang on a few weeks ago, who I know you and your family are super close with. Awesome guy. And he told me a little bit about some of the bigger apartment projects that you guys are working on. I know you're involved with all that stuff. There's a big project in Salem. Long term, are you wanting to continue flipping houses? Are you hoping to transition more to the bigger apartment stuff, or where do you see that going?
Yeah, long term, we're trying to focus pretty much exclusively on the bigger stuff. We bought our last flip actually a couple months ago, so we've got seven left, and after those seven are sold off, we're probably going to be done with them for hopefully forever. I don't know why we would go back. And we're gonna just start focusing on the big stuff really, which is some of the bigger developments, delivering capital to different partners that we feel like we align with in the Northwest, and also focusing on our own commercial portfolio too. Some of that is actually a development project of our own, where we're using our own capital and not bringing anybody in. Some of it's our industrial space that we have and manage, and then the third piece is the development. So those things are much more worth our time. We found over the last 6 to 12 months, and there's really no reason to continue flipping other than it's fun, and fun doesn't really make sense when you're talking about business. So we've decided to kind of sunset that and hopefully stay away from it forever for no real bad reason other than our time just seems to be more valuable at other places.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna beg to differ with you on the fun part when it comes to flips, but maybe you're just better at them than I am. It's probably more fun when you make more money.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it depends on the person. It's you don't want to do stuff you don't like, and that's why I flipped for so long. I guess is because I enjoyed it, but it's not for everybody at all.
Gotcha. So you're doing some of your putting your own capital into some projects. Jeff told me a little bit about the big 200 unit. I think it was two that's going up in Salem. You got any other projects in the works at the moment?
Yeah, we have another one that's going to break ground early next spring in Portland. It's another 200 unit complex that we're general partners on with a developer that we know well out of Portland. So we're super excited about that one. It's probably the most exciting one we've got. We've also invested in an assisted living facility that's getting going in Oregon City. And we're looking at another one up in Bothell too to invest in and be a general partner on as well.
Nice, man. That's big time. I don't can you share where the Portland project is located? Like what part of town?
Yeah, it's off of Cesar Chavez and Division. So it's a
Oh, okay.
super exciting partnership. Yeah, we're feeling really good about the area. It's an area that has come a long way over the last 5 years. The city's been putting a lot of effort into it. Lots of local businesses and smaller developers have already hit it, and they're just kind of waiting for a bigger complex to come in. So we feel it's the perfect time. We're super excited about that one.
Yeah, that's all. That's my old hood right there. I used to be. I lived on my townhouse was on 29th and Hawthorne, so
Okay.
not far from that spot. So I mean, we've talked about. I don't know if you know Mike Nuss. You know
I
Mike?
don't. Yeah, not
Yeah,
personally, but I definitely know.
Yeah, so we did a whole episode with Mike on the Portland market because he's been investing there for years. I mean, so the city has been beaten down a little bit the last few years, but we both kind of agreed it's a it's a pretty good buy opportunity right now in the city. I mean, obviously you guys are bullish on Portland, or you wouldn't be putting 200 units right there. But what specifically makes you excited about the city as a whole, but then also that location?
Yeah, it's, the city itself, it doesn't have the best reputation. And, from a glance, it's probably not the best area to invest in. But the reason we believe so strongly in it is there's such an acute demand shortage, I mean, or supply shortage, that the city just needs it. They need housing so bad that even if their reputation still isn't great, the population is starving. They need it so bad. Affordable housing, they need it. Luxury housing, they need it. Anything in between, they need it. And so we're just trying to fill that need right now. And, I think that a lot of the stuff they've done over the last 5 years has scared off most investors and most developers too. And what that's done is just created an opening for people that know how to deal with the city. They know how to work through that whole process. They know how to make the city happy, deliver a product that they're going to support. And that's what we're doing. Is we don't know that personally. We feel good about the market. We've done our due diligence, but what we've done is partner with other developers who we feel have all the skills necessary to work with the city in the best way possible to push these projects through, and not just push them through and leave kind of a negative trail of a big forceful developer that just makes something happen that probably shouldn't be there. We're actually partnering with people we believe are going to leave a positive impact on the community and end up making the city incredibly thankful, end up making the area incredibly thankful, bringing businesses to it, bringing great amenities. We're trying to leave a positive impact and get everybody on board too, and not just push things through because we can read between the lines and find the loopholes to get stuff done. We want people on our side on stuff like this. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's such an oversimplification when it comes to the Portland market. I mean, I live in New York, so people know Portland because they saw it on the news a couple times, or I'll even talk to, I'm in a few business groups with a lot of real estate investors in them, and it's just this constant, well, I don't do Portland because it's tenant friendly. I don't do Portland because the city sucks to work with. And it's like, okay, yes, it is tenant friendly. The city probably doesn't suck to work with. You just have to do exactly what you just described. And all this stuff, it's business. Like if there are certain rules of the road that we have to play by. Portland is, it's fair to say it's a tenant friendly city. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. It's bad if you don't know how to handle tenants. If you screen properly, if you follow the rules, you're probably going to do pretty well. And a lot of opportunity comes from running into places where other people are not, they'll call it like running into the fire. And that's where a lot of opportunity lies. If you go somewhere, I mean, we've seen it with like Texas and Florida the last few years, where some of those markets are crashing because capital just flooded in. None of this institutional capital is in Portland right now, and I would, that seems like a heck of an opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we feel really strong about the next 2 to 3 years. It's hard to say whether that demand is going to stay there long term. If I had to guess, I'd say it probably is because they're going to continue to be difficult to deal with. But we really believe for the next 2 or 3 years, especially, there's going to be a big opportunity to get into Portland, find deals, partner up with good people like we are that know what they're doing. They're the best in class for these type of projects, and just make stuff happen. Take advantage of what other people are afraid of right now.
Good stuff. Well, I hope we've got a 18 unit we're trying to go under contract on in Southeast Portland as well. So I'm with you on the
Yeah,
Portland thesis.
yeah.
Um,
We'll see how that goes.
yeah, I will. And then you said you're also you mentioned in your bio that through Lakeside you guys are purchasing stocks as well as other small businesses. I'm curious. So with the stock piece, do you mean you're just or yeah, tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, just buying businesses, mostly the top 500 businesses, S&P type companies. We've got a small percentage of our portfolio in there right now. We are hoping to think that we're smarter than the S&P, and so we're buying individual stocks that we believe are going to outperform the S&P. That's one of the hardest things to do in investing. So whether or not that'll stay true over 10 to 15 years, we'll have to see if we're being arrogant. But right now, we believe we're picking good businesses. That's a small percentage of our portfolio, though. Like I said, we found great returns in real estate. It's also what we know, what we have the resources to do most. So most of our money ends up going there. But the small business piece is stuff like car washes. We bought real estate agencies. We bought a number of logistics-based companies too that we've rolled into our core business. Trucking, factoring businesses, brokerages, stuff like that we know well. We also jump on those pretty quick too, just because they fit super well into what we're already doing. So we're always looking to acquire other logistics-based businesses or other businesses that produce cash too. I think that's what we find really appealing with small businesses is their ability to produce cash like real estate just simply can't. And so there's a time and place for all those investments, but we're trying to stay somewhat diversified into not just real estate where we're waiting for it to appreciate, sell in 5 to 10 years or refinance, but you just increase your LTV and so you lose a bunch of cash flow. And so all these different things with real estate we love, but we also want to be conscious of the value of cash on hand, the value of cash every single month that businesses provide. Because even if it's a lower overall return, you're getting all your money up front. It's right there in cash flow every day. And that cash flow can come into our business and it can be redeployed into other real estate assets at a much faster pace than getting that money from real estate can. And so for that reason, we always look for small businesses and anything that we can incorporate into what we already have going.
Good stuff. Well, Carter, just a few final questions before we get you out of here. You've been super generous with your time, so thank you. These are the final three that we ask to everybody that comes on the pod. You love business. You're buying businesses. You're developing. You're buying real estate. You're flipping houses. But aside from that, what do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, in the winter, I'm a big skier. That's one of my favorite things to do that occupies a lot of my time. Outside of that, we do a ton of traveling. So we do a couple ski trips a year, lots of traveling. Love to go internationally. I know you do too. You're always traveling the world, and that's the great thing about our businesses that we run, right? I think that's probably the coolest thing.
Yeah.
To travel and seeing the world is definitely my number one hobby outside of work.
Yeah, they say, people get into real estate for time freedom. I don't know that part is necessarily true, but you definitely have location freedom, which I agree with you is the actual coolest part.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's not always time freedom, but it is typically location freedom, to some extent. Depends on the type of business you want to run.
What's the coolest trip, coolest international trip you've been on recently?
Yeah, let's see. 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, I was in Thailand for 2 weeks by myself. I went on a backpacking trip. That's probably the best experience that I've had traveling. But we've seen a lot of cool places in Greece and France and hopefully a trip to South Africa planned pretty soon too.
Oh wow, I've never done South Africa. That sounds cool. Okay, what are you reading, watching, or listening to? It can be business, or it can just be a cool show or whatever, just for entertainment. But what are you reading, watching, or listening to that you can recommend to our audience at the moment?
Yeah, I'm reading a book. Actually, it's right here in front of me that I'm really enjoying. It's called Timeless Wealth: Real Estate Through the Ages.
Ari, that's my
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
Ari?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
It's been a great book, actually. I hopped on a call with him a couple of months ago and got to know him a little bit and started reading his book, and I'm really enjoying it. I like kind of indirect information, learning from others, past experiences, historical successes and failures that people have. I think the values and principles that carry on throughout the years are so much more true than a lot of the numbers that you can get into. And so I love principle-based, value-based learning more than anything. This is a great book for that.
Yeah, Ari's the man. I forgot how I connected with him, either through LinkedIn or something. And I did a call. And then last time I was in Portland, I actually met up with him, but I talk to him all the time. Have you been, he's got a really cool blog, and he just launched a podcast too. Have you checked that out?
I haven't checked out the podcast, but I read his blog and I love it. It's very unique information that very few people share, and not many people have that perspective that he has and that passion for history. And so I look forward to his blog every time I see it come through my inbox.
You a history guy too?
I'm not a huge history guy overall. I enjoy certain parts of it, but when history and business and entrepreneurialism and all those things combine, that's when I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, history, you said it, history, market conditions all that stuff can change over time, but the way people act or human behavior, that stuff is timeless. And that's what makes the way he's doing it, intertwining history with investing. It's so interesting because they really, the book's called Timeless Wealth, and it's things that, were one way 500 years ago. They're the same way today, and they'll be the same way 500 years from now. So super good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a favorite. So that's what I'm reading.
Cool. Shout out to Ari. I'll tell him that you referenced that. Hey, before we let you go, final thing, any thing you'd like to plug if people want to invest with you, or anything you'd like to shout out, and maybe tell people where they can follow you as well.
Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out about business stuff. Just my first name, Carter, last name, Weisenseed. You should be able to find me pretty easy there with any opportunities in real estate and businesses locally. That's kind of what we're looking for. We'll look at pretty much anything at the moment. So anybody that's got a deal that looks interesting, a problem that needs solved, a business they need to sell quick, or a business they need help in, anything like that you want to come to us and chat about, we can act on all things from small plumbing businesses and car washes to some of these 200-unit developments. So we're open to anything under the sun, and just starting conversations and meeting like-minded people, and just wanting our values to align more than anything, and the business and the deal making comes second.
Carter, I appreciate it, my man. This has been the Saucetown Investor. What an awesome episode, dude. I appreciate you making time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Matt. It was a blast.
That is a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Saucetown Investor. If you got value from this, drop us a comment and let us know your thoughts. Did you have a big takeaway? Is there a topic you want to see us cover next time? Is there a guest you want to see interviewed? DMs are open. Business is at Saucetown Properties, and my personal, you can DM me personally, is at The Real Matt Cox 4. We'd also like to ask you kindly to please like and subscribe. You can also follow along with the Saucetown Investor blog. That's mattcox444.substack.com. Thanks again, guys, and until next time, keep investing and stay saucy, Saucetown.